This is Beyond the Veil with Norman Meredith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Norman coming again from Pickens, South Carolina with another episode of Beyond the Veil. Tonight we're going to talk about the possibility of cloning a woolly mammoth. Yes, folks, that's right, cloning a woolly mammoth. Lately there's been a lot of talk, and it's getting closer and closer to the possible fact that we may see one of these prehistoric creatures roaming the earth once again. Now, if anybody's ever heard, cloning has been one of those dreams that scientists have been pursuing forever and have made great strides in it lately over the past decades. One of the first creatures ever cloned was a sheep named Dolly that lived for quite a while, and there were quite a few sheep that were cloned afterwards. There was also a German shepherd named Scoop, I believe its name was, that lived for 10 years that was also cloned. And just doing a little bit of research, there was numerous other different animals that were cloned, and some lived for days, some lived longer. But the one biggest problem that was being found in cloning was sometimes there was mutations and genetic defects were noted because it wasn't a natural birth or natural process, because they were taking cells and basically reproducing them and forcing them into being, per se. And if you've been following the news over the past year or so, they've been talking about they found a remarkably preserved baby woolly mammoth, over in Siberia here just recently. Ed, let's show up some of these pictures that we have about woolly mammoths. Now, this here is the concept art of a woolly mammoth with the large tusks, the hair, and believe it or not, they're not as big as you would think they are. You would think these things are huge, monstrous creatures, bigger than African elephants. Actually, from what I understand, now, there's two different types of elephants. There's the African elephant, which is the largest land creature. And then there's the Indian elephant, which is slightly smaller. Now, from what I understand, the woolly mammoth is in between the African and the Indian elephant. And the way the talks go is they want to, when they get the cells just right, they want to implant them into a female Indian elephant so it could gestate and give birth, because supposedly it's closer in genetics by just off by maybe a gene or two, and it would be easier for it to be birthed. Now, Ed, don't I have a picture or two of it, some frozen ones, or what looks like carcasses? This picture here is the perfectly preserved baby woolly mammoth that was found in Siberia. I mean, this thing they found food in its stomach, they found preserved blood in its system. This is the most perfectly preserved woolly mammoth that was ever found, short of the ones that were found one time back in the 50s or 60s, I believe. And the only problem about the ones that were found in the 50s or 60s, the Siberians that found them defrosted them and turned them into steaks. Yeah, that's true, Ed. They found them and they said, "Ooh, meat on the hoof. We're having protein tonight."
I mean, were they not worried about, can I jump in?
Yeah, go for it. I don't mind. You're always welcome to jump in.
Don't people believe in disease and such? You hear these stories out of Antarctica where they're like, we found this thing that's been living and frozen in ice, and it's like there could be disease that we thought died out because it got froze to death and all that, but this is you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be a movie about that. You're unlocking the potential of bacterial infestation into every Homo sapien on the planet.
Exactly. But, look at it this way. Now, the Siberians, these were back in the 1950s. They may not have been the most educated person in the world. Remember, they were part of the Russian Empire back then, when it was one big communist nation. So their education level probably wasn't the best, if they had an education. They're basically hunters, nomads type.
Sure.
Chasing reindeer that they're probably running around. And here they come across 2 or 3 carcasses of perfectly frozen elephant. And it's like, boys, steaks on the dinner tonight. Basically type of thing,
That's crazy, man.
But it's true. And, scientists even come up with the theory is, now think about this for a second, that it was possible that they were alive not thousands of years ago, but maybe
hundreds.
No, not even that. Probably within a couple years of the Siberians finding them.
Okay. All right.
Because, there's been theories and people seeing what look like woolly mammoths in the distance in Siberia, in Alaska, and the Canadian Northern Territories. People have seen reports of a creature that looks like a woolly mammoth in the distance. They've found what looks like footprints, damage. They've heard strange noises and everything else. Not to mention bones and all that, but in Siberia, for some strange reason, they find a lot of perfectly preserved or semi-preserved carcasses. Like they just happened.
That's crazy.
I know it's crazy, but it's also practically a fact. It's like it just happened. I mean, the possibilities, think of how big the Siberian tundra is. I mean, it's possible to be lost out there and not be found, or something could wander around there. I mean, look at how big part of our North American continent here in the United States is. There are parts of the woods that nobody's ever been into. That, like with Bigfoot hunters, they believe there could be actual villages of Bigfoot that are out in the open but never been seen because they're so far in deep woods. I mean,
that's crazy.
I know, but it's the possibility of it being there.
Yeah.
And like even a few years back in the 40s, 1900s, people, Indians and Eskimos and traders thought they even seen big woolly mammoths up in Alaska and the Northern Territories around that area. Some people have actually seen them up there back in the 1800s, late 1800s.
Look at that one.
That's another example of, one of these baby woolly mammoths that they want to bring them back. But, lately too, even within the last 50 years, people have been sighting them up in Alaska in the Northern Territories, which is making me think, if they've been playing with the genetic stuff, trying to recreate them, what's the possibility that we haven't perfected it, that's already been perfected, okay, cloning, because there has been rumors on the dark net, alternate websites, that we have perfected cloning, okay, because we've seen Dolly, we've seen Scoop, we've seen other animals, that it has been perfected a while back, and they have brought back the woolly mammoth, but they're not releasing it yet because they want to build up the herds up there in Alaska and Northern Territories. Because one of the biggest, and they want to grow the herd. And if they do let anybody go up there, it's because somebody's got billions and billions of dollars to go and hunt it on the sly. You know what I'm saying? Like as a private game reserve.
Oh, yeah. It happens all the time.
Exactly.
More than you know.
Right. But then one day they're going to let everybody know, hey, woolly mammoths, we do have woolly mammoths. They're going to show us an actual mammoth in a lab somewhere in America, England, Russia, Germany. Somewhere they're going to bring us out and show the baby woolly mammoth one day.
Look at this one.
Yeah, that's the same one that we've been talking about.
That kind of gives you a scale size. What is that? Maybe 2.5 feet tall, something like that. I mean, this thing was
Maybe
like brand new.
4. That is a baby.
What did it do? Like fall down some crevasse somewhere
or flash storm?
It had to have been where it was cold.
Yeah,
had to have been, because it would have decayed had it not been. Mm-hmm. So, definitely in the snow somewhere. It just makes you wonder.
I mean, a lot of things possibility is freak storms, like you say, falling into a crevasse, water, anywhere, because they supposedly lived in cold climates, but they could also lived in semi-cold climates. But if they were in the colder climates, and especially when the continents and the world was going through that change, and if they had a severe temperature change, and if that as a child, as a small baby woolly mammoth, it's possible it froze to death because of a sudden storm where a parent had more body fat on it, more hair, might have survived. You know what I'm trying to say? You know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the possibilities are endless. But, personally, I'd like to see a woolly mammoth brought back. I mean, it would be spectacular. It'd be neat. But then, does that open up a door to other things? Could somebody then start cloning people that we don't want to come back, like a Hitler? Or they could reclone Albert Einstein, which would be maybe a good thing if he grew up to be the same type of scientist that he was. Or would he be somebody different? The good and the bad of being able to clone is got a lot of potential. I mean, if we took your cells and regrew you a new heart because you needed a heart or lungs, your body's not going to reject it. That is a benefit to society. But if you were to clone, say, genetic warriors because you took different samples from different people to create a super soldier, that might be evil, wouldn't it?
Yes, I think it would be, and I think it would change. It would change perception of humans, and it could bring back. I don't know. It's just maybe like that person would have no knowledge of the person who they were until they find that out, and then would they replicate the things that they did in the past,
or would they be a new person altogether? Because now all you're doing is creating a body. Not the soul, because the soul is something different. So they may be somebody totally different, even though their body may look like, say, Patton or Winston Churchill or a famous soldier or a famous scholar, but maybe they turn out to be somebody different. But if you're creating super soldiers, you might be taking the best of all these things to create killing machines.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing a dodo come back, or
You got to think about the genetic anomalies as well.
Yes, the mutations,
like
and all
weird
that.
stuff happening, and
What about the psychological profile
yeah,
that might affect?
it could be just like complete serial killer or brain dead, or the other way, an absolute genius that puts everybody out of work. It can affect the economy. Could affect the environment. I don't know, man. I just say don't.
Yeah. If it's just used for medical science, like creating organs to replace missing organs that are damaged or need replacing because of bad health, I can see that. But
Why are people so afraid to die?
because they're afraid of the unknown, is there an afterlife?
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast, really. That'll be a whole nother podcast. So, that sounds like something we might have to talk about maybe next
do it.
week. Let's talk about after. All right, folks, I'm going to look out to y'all tonight. If you have stories about the afterlife, have you ever had where you died and came back and seen the afterlife, or were seen something there? Did you see the light? Did you see people? Did you talk to somebody? Did you go there and come back? If you have a story like this, reach out and talk to me. Now, I have to apologize. The last 2 weeks, I've been under the weather and been dealing with the crud. Everybody on my crew shift and the other shifts have been passing the bug back and forth. And I was dealing with it on the edge, and I felt like crap for 2 weeks. So excuse my not answering texts and not being on the show for 2 weeks. And Ed was the same way. He was getting the crud from his wife, from his kids, and everything else. So between the two of us, we just hadn't been in the best thing. But I promise, let's go forward on this. If you all want to talk about the afterlife next week, drop me some things about your encounter of the afterlife, or your family that might have had an encounter with the afterlife, and tell me what they encountered, what they saw. Because I'll tell you what I seen when I had my encounter with the afterlife. You may not believe me, but it was interesting. It was phenomenal. I'm not going to tell you all about it because then it would be cheating. But I'm not as scared no more, not as I used to be. Just a lot of possibilities. It'll be an interesting topic. I'll say that, But like I say, going forward with the mammoths, I hope to see woolly mammoths one day. I hope to see other creatures brought back, like the dodo, the was it the passenger pigeon? I think it was called, or something. Carrier pigeon. There was a pigeon that disappeared. Other animals that may have disappeared. The Tasmanian tiger. It supposedly is making a comeback on its own, and it may never have actually been wiped out. But if there's a possibility that we can help bring it back, I'd love to see something like that. But one thing I don't want to see is somebody creating chimeras. Like if you've ever looked in mythology, you see a creature with a head of a lion, tail of a snake, wings of an eagle, body of maybe a bull, with claws of a hawk. I don't want to see chimeras. We don't want to see chimeras where there are things that are half human, half ape, or other type of creatures. We don't want to see science going off the deep end just because they said, well, let's see if we can. Hold my beer a minute and let's see what we can do. We don't need science going in that direction to create creatures of nightmares. Just to say, hey, we did it. The beer's on ice. Let's go get it now because we done it. Because we don't know what will unleash if we create chimeras, because it may not be the benefit to humanity as a whole. And for all we know, somewhere out in some lab, some deep corner of the world, somebody right now is trying to create chimeras to use as weapons of war. And we don't need no more weapons of war. We need things that'll help us as a people, that'll help us do better, to help with our plants, growing things, improving ourselves, saving people in emergencies, improving our health, helping us live a little longer, helping us be healthier, so we can get away from being morbidly obese, from dying from cancer and things like that. This is what we need. We need science to use genetics and all that to make us better people. So I'm going to leave you with these thoughts tonight, and let's see what else we can find going forward about the woolly mammoth, and see if he's going to be walking the earth with us once again.
Are we going to talk about the woolly mammoth that you can see on TV right now, who's alive and well?
Which woolly mammoth?
It's this one right here.
Oh, Snuffleupagus. You got me on that one. He had a brother that he came on the show with him one time.
Was he like a stoner brother or something? Like a weirdo?
He was another one. He just showed up one episode.
Oh, okay. I couldn't go out without that.
Without Snuffleupagus. I should have knew you had something up there when you're giving me that eye over there.
It's like, oh yeah.
But yeah, folks, let's hope science can bring back a woolly mammoth just to see, and hopefully science can go forward to create positive things for the benefit of people, and not for war or other nefarious purposes. I'm going to leave you tonight, Ed and I, from Pickton, South Carolina, with this message. Go with God. Be safe. Watch the skies. If you see something, take a picture. Write it down. Turn your audio recorders on your phone. Gather information from your people that are next to you. If you have a Bigfoot encounter, contact the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. They have a wonderful group of investigators. They'll be more than glad to come out, investigate, talk, and help you with your issues. Paranormal. There is a investigator I work with. Very good man, him and his wife. I can turn you to them if you need some assistance. If you have other questions with cryptids and all that, I can turn you into William Nighthawk. He's a great mentor. Excuse me. And he can be some great assistance with that and other cryptid problems. There's other folks. Excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups. I can turn you over. Pardon me. I can lead you to help you out. Dang it. With cryptid issues. All right, folks, I'm going to cut this short before I start burping and other things, okay? All right, folks, have a good night. Be safe and have fun.